Cliff Richard has had an amazing career. He's basically the king of rock and roll in England. And unlike Elvis, he also had an amazing mid-career run of albums. From 1976 to 1983, he put out 7 studio albums of just front-to-back brilliance, working with some of the finest writers and arrangers of the day, from producer Bruce Welch to songwriters Terry Britton, Alan Tarney, Chris Eaton, arrangers like Mike Batt. The list goes on. Anyway, it was all started, this mid-silver streak of his, by the 1976 album I'm Nearly Famous. And the second track on side 1 is the finest of the ballads on that release. It's the song It's No Use Pretending. Hear those just beautiful pianos kind of double tracked with that harmonic sound, and in the keys of D minor and C.
It's no use pretending what's done is done, and you can't turn back the clock. It's no use pretending what you have said will stay inside my head. Oh, it's over.
Okay, you can tell that we're going into something kind of sad right here. There's no use pretending. What's done is done. You can't turn back the clock. What you have said will stay inside my head. Some real just final words have been spoken between two people.
I tried to please you, but all you could do was talk behind my back. Now I see through you. Nothing I could say or do would get to you.
Okay, so he's done the best that he can do, and he's at an impasse with this woman.
You've been on more than you could chew. Although I've got to say we're through, there's nothing I would rather do than be with you. There's more to you than meets the eye. I must admit you used to try, but since you got the other way,
I love the way that he stretches out vowels, and like you've bitten off more than, there's nothing I would rather do than be with you. And then the way that he kind of gouges certain syllables, like there's more to you than meets the ah, like that. I like that clapping, how it's like a clap on one bar and then a double clap on the next. That same method is employed at the end, I believe, of The Things We Do for Love by 10cc, amid the harmonies and double tracking and such.
You've been off more than you can chew. Although I got to say we're through, there's nothing I would rather do than be with you. There's more to you than meets the eye. I must admit you used to try, but since you gone the other way, our head is in the sky.
Yeah, the way that he's a very, very clever with the phrasing. And I think that's what's always made, like, people have some people have said that Cliff's kind of an average vocalist, but his creative use of phrasing combined with his onstage charisma and his excellent choice of material are part of what have sustained him for so long and through so many decades and eras. The like synth strings are really elevating this track, giving it like a really rich, cushiony, thick layer of sound. I'm not finding a lot in terms of instrumentation, but let's see. Let's see here. Well, produced by Bruce Welch, as we know. The song is written by Allison and Sills, who are the authors of four of the songs on this LP, and they're all really among the standouts too. They wrote "It's No Use Pretending," "I'm Nearly Famous," "Junior Cowboy," "All Right, It's All Right." Yeah, all great songs. I wish I could tell you who plays that synthesizer, but I'm not finding that info. I'm only finding information on the arrangements. Andrew Powell did one track, not this one. Bruce Welch produced the entire album. Bruce Welch has long trusted bass player, no, guitarist, second rhythm guitarist, I guess. Hank B. Marvin was the lead guitarist. Yeah, Big Bruce, tall guy. I guess they called him Big Bruce because he was like over 6 foot. Um, and Michael Allison and Peter Sills, the songwriters. Let's see, what else did these two do besides this album? I think they also wrote at least one track on Every Face Tells a Story, but like they wrote this beautiful ballad. They wrote I'm Nearly Famous, the title track, which has kind of a 50s rock character and some clever lyrics. They wrote Junior Cowboy, a very slick sliding country rocker. And they wrote All Right, It's All Right, kind of a funky track, really that closes out the album with a bit of that gritty, sly, sassy, mid-70s funk rock character. Let's see. They also wrote When Two Worlds Drift Apart on Every Face Tells a Story, another beautiful ballad. It seems like they're primarily credited on Cliff and Olivia albums from this period. If I look at the Peter Sills page, let's see, Michael Allison wrote some stuff for Peter Straker. Was involved in the 1969 cartoon album by the Scottish pop foursome Cartoon. Olivia Newton-John. Every Face Tells a Story was done by both Olivia Newton-John and Cliff. That's not a lot of credits, but some choice ones and some good compositions between the two of them. I'm Nearly Famous, a very excellent comeback album from Cliff Richard, the album that made him a force to be reckoned with in album-oriented rock. Yeah, just about every song on the album is good and worth hearing. I tell you, it's just a little under 20 years ago now that I bought a beat-up copy of this just for one song. And then, of course, at the time, I was still prone to do that. It was before I became like really adamant about really diligent about hearing every single track on an album and choosing and and only and withholding judgment until I heard every single track. I would put on that track and then let the side play through, and then it wasn't long before I realized, hey, I like every single one of the songs I'm hearing. Turn it over again, and then I had this light bulb moment. Cliff's output from this period must be a gold mine, because everyone, in the late mid '70s to like early '80s was making solid albums. I mean, why wouldn't Cliff? Yeah, I mean, he's got all these writers at his disposal. He's got Bruce Welch going out finding songs for him. Um, I Can't Ask for Anything More Than You, the opening track, written by the team of Golden Den. Devil Woman, written by Terry Britton, co-authored by him. And If You Walked Away, another wonderful ballad written by David Pomeranz, who's written a lot of orchestral stuff for people. But anyway, I could just go on and on. I'll do those. I'll do some of those songs in other videos. Yeah, Cliff Richard, one of the most album-rich artists of the period, and it's funny. People sometimes will find out just how high regard I hold Cliff, and they'll have somewhat of an idea of the magnitude that I cover, that I represent as far as '70s and '80s music goes. That I've not only rated like over 1,600 album or 16,000 albums, but that I've like done like annotated directories, like of like hundreds upon hundreds upon hundreds, oftentimes over 1,000. In the case of 1976, over 1,700 albums from that year. The vast, like 95% of them, thoroughly worked through reds, purples, and that I music from around the world in all these different genres. So kind of a self-evident, trained ear over many years, listening to all kinds of music from around the world, developing a trained ear for everything from hard rock to reggae to city pop to jazz rock to you name it, avant-garde to MOR. And yeah, I get people who they find out Cliff Richard, and then their knee-jerk synopsis kicks in of just the conventional wisdom they've been fed, and some of them maybe the low-hanging fruit or whatever. They try and educate me on conventional wisdom, thinking I need to be reeled in, and think to yourself for a minute. Set aside any preconceived notions you might have about an artist, any stereotypes you might have an artist, and when you hear someone who is a trained ear, who's heard music from around, who's as deep into their listening and who's done a lot of the heavy lifting for others, just think to yourself, do you really think that a person who has heard over 16,000 albums really needs to be educated on conventional wisdom? Or might you just think for a moment, he's covered a lot more range than most of us have. Maybe he would be able to hear something in certain artists that others can't, and maybe we should give him the benefit of the doubt and reserve our judgment till we've at least put in some of the airtime that he has. Or since most of us are not going to have the time for that, we could at least give some of his recommendations a try and maybe try to hear what he's hearing that we're not, like in the vocals and the melodies and the arrangements. Like, I'll give you an example. I'm not really all that enthused about either Bob Dylan or Ricky Nelson, but I did find it interesting that Bob Dylan thought very highly of a few Ricky Nelson songs, and Ricky Nelson, some friends of his were saying if Ricky Nelson had known that an artist the stature of Bob Dylan thought highly of some of his songs and actually covered a couple in concert, he would have been. And so apropos to that, it makes you think. It's food for thought.